Bueno, buenos días para todos. Mi nombre es Joana Torres, soy la directora del programa de Consejería Académica y Relaciones Internacionales y hoy les voy a acompañar en la sesión informativa que vamos a tener con la Universidad de Glasgow, en donde vamos a presentarles la oferta académica de la universidad y hablar un poco sobre el convenio de cooperación que Colfuturo tiene con esta universidad. Para eso nos acompaña Joe Power, que es nuestro contacto y es la persona encargada del International Recruitment para los estudiantes de Colombia y de América Latina. Entonces, la invitación es que puedan enviarnos sus preguntas en el chat. Una vez yo finalice su presentación, nosotros le haremos las preguntas que ustedes tengan al respecto. So, Joe, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us today for this session. Please feel free to start.
Thank you very much, Joanna. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry that I'm not conducting in Spanish. I do have some Spanish, but I think it would be quite slow and difficult to listen to me talk in Spanish for 30 minutes. So I am going to go for this in English. I'm going to talk to you for around 20 minutes or so about the University of Glasgow, just to give you an idea of what kind of university we are, what we offer, and give you some practical tips on how you might want to apply to us if you're interested in coming to Glasgow. So the picture you're looking at now is a really nice view of the city of Glasgow, with the main building in the forefront with the old tower. And you can see in the distance some of our big music venues that are along the River Clyde, which is our main river in Glasgow. A few key facts about the university I'd like to give you now. So we are one of the top 100 universities in the world. We're highly ranked in the Times Higher Education, and we are 67th in the QS World Rankings. So for most world rankings, we always hope to remain within the top 100 in the world. We've got quite a long history at Glasgow as well. We are part of the Russell Group of research intensive UK universities. So this is a group of around 24 UK universities that tend to focus a bit more on research, and I suppose as a result they're a little bit like the Ivy League in the USA. They're seen as the higher quality institutions in the UK. So in the UK we have around 130 universities in total. We're quite a large university as well, so we have 29,000 students at the University of Glasgow, and coming from over 140 countries. So we have a really wide range, very international atmosphere on campus, and particularly in our postgraduate programs, which are probably to varying degrees between 50 and 80% international. So you will meet lots of different people if you come to study at Glasgow. I mentioned that we have a long history as well at Glasgow. So we were established in 1451. So really, really long time ago, over 650 years now. And the university itself was built in the city centre of Glasgow. The campus that you're going to see on these pictures that I'm showing here is quite an old campus, but it's not as old as 1451. It was actually built in the 1800s. So the campus itself moved out to the west end of Glasgow quite a while after it was initially established. And I'll show you a picture of the campus a bit later on to give you an idea of what it looks like. The city itself is known for being very friendly. It's also quite a large city, large by UK standards at least. So we are a city of around 1 million people, and we're the fourth largest in the UK and the largest within Scotland. Other things that we're very proud of at Glasgow in terms of our undergraduate degree programmes, we offer the 4-year degree programme, as do other Scottish universities. In the city of Glasgow as well, we have UNESCO City of Music status. So this shows that we are a very cultural city. The reason we have that status is we have over 300 music events happening every week. Obviously that would be in normal times. We're not having anything like that at the moment while the pandemic continues, and I'll tell you a bit more about where we're at with that too. If we're thinking about the history of Glasgow, we have a lot of very famous alumni going back. So for example, Adam Smith, he was the founder of modern economics. He studied at Glasgow and he taught at Glasgow as well. And we've named our business school after him. So that's the Adam Smith Business School. We also have lots of famous engineers like James Watt, scientists like Lord Kelvin. We also have the man who helped to invent the television, John Logie Baird, and lots of other famous inventors and lots of famous Nobel laureates that we have going back in history. If we're thinking about more recent alumni, though, we do have some very famous alumni who are still alive. So we have, for example, Nicola Sturgeon, who is the First Minister of Scotland. She studied law with us at Glasgow, so we're very proud of her. We also have lots of alumni that have gone into the private sector and had very successful careers, like Brian McBride, who's chair of ASOS.com. Stephen Moffat, who is very famous in media, made famous TV programs like Doctor Who and Sherlock. And then also lots of other scientists and also creative people and politicians like Mari Black, who is the youngest elected MP in modern history. She also studied at Glasgow. I wanted to tell you a bit more about the community at Glasgow. So we're quite a large university by UK standards. We have around 200 Latin American students studying in Glasgow, which is a pretty sizable number because Latin American students across UK universities are not the largest group of international students. The largest groups tend to come from East Asia, for example, but we're quite proud that we're building a really strong community of Latin Americans at Glasgow. They tend to be studying in postgraduate programs, usually for masters and sometimes for PhD in areas like science, engineering and social sciences. We also have lots of students from Colombia, so we have around 25 students from Colombia, and they are often studying on social science programs, in particular our international masters programs, which have proved to be really, really popular in Colombia. So every time I visit Colombia in normal times, I would meet Colombia students, and a lot of them are interested in these international masters programs that we have, which allow you to study in different locations across Europe, usually 3 different locations across different European countries. I wanted to mention as well, and I'll mention later, that we have an agreement with Colfuturo, and every time I come to Colombia, I come to visit Colfuturo to check what's going on. They're a very good sponsor. They're very good at engaging with students. Really grateful that they're offering sessions like this where we can reach out to you and tell you more about our universities. We have a discount agreement with Colfuturo, which means that any student that gets funding from Colfuturo will get a 20% discount on their tuition fee with us at Glasgow. I wanted to say a little bit about Scotland as well, so that you have an idea of where we're located. Obviously, we are in the UK, but Scotland is a country within the UK, and it very much has its own identity and has a lot of governance of many of its own affairs. So it's very much a devolved country within the UK. It's known for being a very beautiful country as well. So some of these pictures here that you're seeing, the mountains in Scotland are really, really beautiful. They're not as high as the Andes, so not quite as dramatic, but we still have a very special kind of scenery and landscape in Scotland, which is very famous, makes it onto lots of TV programs like Outlander, for example, which you might have seen. So it's a really nice place to study, and also worth bearing in mind that these kind of scenes that you're looking at in this picture are really easy to reach from Glasgow. So this is Loch Lomond, which is our largest loch or lake in Scotland, and it only takes 40 minutes to get there by train. So it's all very accessible. But even within the city of Glasgow, it's quite a large cosmopolitan city. So you can do lots of different cultural events within the city of Glasgow as well. So the picture you're looking at now is a picture of the River Clyde, which is our main river. Most of our industry, and Glasgow was really built around the River Clyde because the main industry was shipbuilding going back in time, but now it's seen very much as a cultural city and also known for being a very friendly city. The picture you're looking at there is a picture of 2 different large music venues that we have right by the river in Glasgow. So any big name pop group or band or singer that's coming to do a world tour, they will come to Glasgow and they'll probably play in one of those venues. So at least you can feel like once things do get back to normal, you'll be able to access all of those top names if you want to. The city of Glasgow also, as I mentioned before, it's the 4th largest in the UK. It has a lot going on, so it's a good place to be young, I think. It's a very good place to go shopping. So it's been voted the top place to go shopping in the UK outside of London, but it also has lots of green space within the city. So it's known as the Dear Green Place, which is what the name Glasgow originally means in Scots Gaelic. And so you're never very far from a really nice park, particularly in the West End of Glasgow, which is where the University of Glasgow is located. I wanted to say a little bit more about the culture in Glasgow, because this is quite a recent development for us in Glasgow, particularly since we hosted the Commonwealth Games in 2014. We've enjoyed a really good renaissance within the city of Glasgow, and this has made it's seen as the UK City of Culture now, and it's quite a recent development for us. According to an EU report, which is the Cultural and Creative Cities Monitor, we came first for openness, tolerance and trust, and also for cultural participation and attractiveness. So it really means that we are a very open city, and we have lots of cultural events on offer. A lot of these cultural organisations are free as well. So the museums that we have, and the picture you're looking at there is the Kelvin Grove Museum, is free to visit. So you can visit anytime you want. You can go in for 30 minutes one day, 2 hours the next, and just take your time and really enjoy everything the city has to offer without having to spend too much money every time you go in. And then, still thinking about the city of Glasgow, we at the university are located in what we call the West End of Glasgow. So the picture you're looking at here is a picture of Ashton Lane, which is right behind the university campus. So this is an area of Glasgow where a lot of people live. It has really nice restaurants and bars and cafes. I suppose you might say it's like the posh part of Glasgow. It's the most desirable part of Glasgow to live in. It has the nicest parks, and the art galleries and museums are available, and lots of live music venues even then. So that's about 30 minutes away from the city centre. You've got almost like a mini city and a mini cultural centre that you can have fun in without having to even go into the city centre itself. So it's a really nice neighbourhood to be living in. So right behind this street that you're looking at now is where our campus is. So what we're looking at here then is the main building of the campus, which you can see in the middle of the photo. And this is when the campus moved in the 1800s. The tower itself is a famous landmark of the Glasgow skyline. Not every part of our activity is located in just these buildings. You can see the buildings all around are actually part of the university as well. So it's really good to know that university is spreading. We're actually building even more. So we're building a new learning and teaching hub on the same part of the campus. So we've been able to spread out even further. You can see that we have a very large library, 13 floors, open 24 hours a day as well. And also we have 3 museums located on the campus, which is not something you'd normally expect within a university, but that's what we have. And if you're looking at the neighbourhoods, you can see that we're actually located, we're not in a rural location, we're in the city of Glasgow. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the feeling of being on a campus, but also you have access to the normal world, the real world, which is just on your doorstep as well. So these are some of the subjects that we offer at Glasgow. We're a large university, city-based, so we do offer almost everything. There are a few things we don't offer. We don't have architecture, we don't have chemical engineering, but you can see from the list there that we have pretty much everything that you might want. And also in particular, we have in the social sciences, those Erasmus Mundus master's programs that have created a lot of interest within Colombia in particular. So if we're thinking about applying to the University of Glasgow, then you would need to just bear in mind our entry requirements. Normally, we're looking for a minimum GPA in your bachelor's degree of around 4 to admit you onto a master's programme. And if you want to come and do a PhD with us, you would also need a master's programme already. We do also ask all of our international students for an international English language test that you would need to take as part of your entry requirements. Normally when we ask for these, we will ask for a test like IELTS, which is a very well-known test, which is run by the British Council in particular, but we do accept other tests as well. So you can see all the equivalencies there. We do accept the TOEFL test too, the CAE and also the PTE. This year, because a lot of students have not been able to sit these tests, because of the coronavirus pandemic, we've also been accepting the the TOEFL at home test and also Duolingo. So those are 2 tests that you're able to take from home. We are now looking to see whether we will continue to accept those for the coming year. Obviously, we don't quite know when things will get back to normal, whatever normal might be in the future. but we are looking to see if we can still have that flexibility with English going into 2021 entry. So if you were thinking of applying to Glasgow, it's really quite straightforward. All you really need to do is go to our website and find the programme that you're interested in. So on the website, that's the first thing you'll see is the search facility for the programmes that we have. So once you've found that information, you can find lots of info about the programme, find out what the programme structure will be like, what the outcomes of that programme would be, but you can also apply directly from that page to us. And we usually ask for certain types of documents in order to receive an application from you. So we'd like to see your transcript that you have so far. If you don't have your final transcript yet, you might not have finished your bachelor's degree, that's fine. We can accept what you have at this moment in time, and then we can make sure that we receive your final transcript later on. Similarly for English, so the English test that I mentioned before, you don't need to have that under your belt before you've applied to Glasgow. So what we would do is if you applied to us without an English test, we would make you what we call a conditional offer, and that would mean that you would be asked for an English test, but you could give us that test in a few months' time. So normally we accept a lot of applications, for example, from November onwards, but the English test doesn't need to be delivered to us until July if you're starting in September. So there's lots of time to meet the conditions of your offer, even if you apply quite early. I wanted to mention as well that in Colombia, in normal times, I would normally travel to Colombia once or twice a year to come and meet with students, maybe to attend one of the big affairs like Euro Postgrados or something like that. But during all the time that I'm not there, we do also have an agent, a representative in Colombia called Mass Education, who we work with quite closely. They're based in Bogota, and they help students with applications. Some of you might know them already. They can offer you advice through the application process and through the process of getting a visa once you're finally getting ready to come and join us in Glasgow. I wanted to mention scholarships to you as well. So of course, I mentioned already that we have the agreement with Colfuturo, which means that you might be able to get a loan or a scholarship or a combination of both. And if you get that, we will give a 20% discount on the tuition fees for you. Other scholarships exist as well, and some of them are more extensive. So external scholarships like the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, which is attached to the international master's programs I mentioned, that's a really good scholarship to get because it covers everything. It's not always possible for every student who gets an offer for those programs to get that scholarship, but normally maybe around 30% of students who get an offer will get offered the scholarship as well. So there's a reasonable chance of getting what is a very good scholarship. The other really good scholarship that's external to us is the Chevening scholarship. Also very good because it offers full fee scholarship, all of your living costs and travel as well. This is quite competitive though, so there's only a set number of Colombian students that would get the Chevening scholarship offered to them. So do be aware of that, and also be aware the deadline for that is November. So you would be looking at applying pretty soon if you're thinking about 2021 entry, and it's definitely worth a shot. What you normally have to do is apply and let them know which programs you plan to apply to. You don't need to have an offer from Glasgow in order to apply for those. A lot of students who come to us though will get the Colfuturo scholarship, which really helps them to get the funds together that they need to be able to come to Glasgow. If you don't get any of these scholarships, we also have some of our own scholarships available, and they are worth up to a maximum of £10,000. So sometimes you might get offered 5,000, sometimes 10,000, and that represents a discount off your tuition fee. Generally speaking, a tuition fee at Glasgow is probably going to be around 20,000 plus. So realistically, the scholarships that we offer would not really give you much more than a 50% discount, but still quite significant if you're able to find the rest of the funding to be able to come and study with us. I wanted to mention a couple of things as well about living expenses in Glasgow. So this is an estimate of what it might cost to live as a student in Glasgow every month. So we're saying around £1,000 a month. And I think what's really nice about Glasgow, it's been voted as one of the most affordable student cities in the UK. Generally speaking, if you're looking at the UK, you can expect London to be the most expensive place to live. And then gradually, as you go further north, the cost of living tends to get a bit cheaper. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not living in a nice place. So the thing that I really like about Glasgow, you can probably tell from my accent, I'm not from Glasgow, I'm actually English. Lived in Glasgow for about 4 years now. But the quality of life in Glasgow is really, really good for what you pay. So even though you might be paying, for example, around £500 on accommodation, that's going to be about 50% of what you might pay in London. But the quality of life, the quality of accommodation you get, the fact that you have green spaces, that you can probably walk to campus every morning, it really kind of helps. I think it means that students know that they're living in a proper city that has all of the things going on that they would expect, but they're not really having to spend lots and lots of money on all of their living costs. So that's quite encouraging, I think. So just thinking about accommodation as well, we do guarantee accommodation for all of our students who are new. So you would be guaranteed for the first year. If you're coming for a 1-year master's, then you've got all of your accommodation sorted out. And our deadline is quite late, actually. It's as late as August. So that means that you can apply quite late for accommodation, even if you're starting the programme in September. We have postgraduate student residences. So that means that we keep the postgraduates and the undergraduates separate, which is probably a good thing because they tend to have different needs. Most of our residences are walking distance to the main campus, so some might be 20-minute walk, some might just be 10-minute walk. And when you pay your accommodation bill, what you'll get is your own self-study room that's completely furnished, and also all of your bills will be paid, insurance, Wi-Fi, etc. So it's a very easy option to go for. Quite a lot of our Latin American students don't go for university accommodation necessarily. They might feel that they are too mature to go for that. So often students will arrive in Glasgow and look for a place to live, which is possible to do, but especially at a time like this, it's a bit more risky, I think. And I think that applying for accommodation just means you've got one less thing to worry about. You'll have a place to live, you'll be with other postgraduate students, you'll share a kitchen, you might share a bathroom, or you can pay a bit more and have your own ensuite bathroom. So it depends what you're looking for, but it's very much an easy option to apply for our own accommodation if that's what you'd like to do. Also to mention as well, there's a lot of student support service available at Glasgow, and we're very proud of it. Before you arrive, we have a facility called Ask a Student, which is just on our website. So you might find, if you're looking for a programme on our website, this will pop up usually in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and you can just have a chat with a current student about their experience of Glasgow so far. There's also people like myself who will help you with the application process, the agents that we work with, who can also offer visa support as well. And also, once you get here, there's a lot of very professional services like international student support. There's a doctor surgery, student counselling, a really good careers service. So everything you would expect, and all of it is run very, very professionally within the campus. So before I stop, I just wanted to mention, of course, that we have found ourselves in the midst of the coronavirus, of course, and I know that you've been struggling with it a lot in Colombia. I think probably back in March, April time, we were reaching a peak and really worried about how bad it was going to get for us. In Glasgow, also in the UK, we have experienced quite a high number of deaths in the UK. I feel like I'm happy to say that the peak has kind of passed us now. We seem to have some control. We are relaxing the rules on lockdown a little bit. So people are beginning to have a kind of a normal life as much as we can. But of course, if you're coming to Glasgow this year, you would find it's a very different environment. So we have to operate a two metre distancing rule on the campus even now. That might go down to 1 metre soon, which will make things slightly easier so that we can operate in a more normal way. But we are following all of the advice that we get from the Scottish Government and from the UK Government to make sure that people are kept safe. So that is the big priority that we have. Some of the stories you can see on this slide are really around the research response to coronavirus, and to show you that the University of Glasgow has been very much involved with all of that. So we're famous in areas like medicine and healthcare, but also in social sciences as well, and all of the other areas, because really the virus has affected all aspects of life. So we've been involved with a lot of the research response, and also offering the testing facilities that were needed. For very early on, we offered a big testing centre at the University of Glasgow, so we were able to do the track and trace and testing, which has been going a little bit better in Scotland, I think, than maybe the rest of the UK. So just to make you feel reassured, really, that we are doing our very best to control the virus and respond to it as best as we can. Like I said, we are very much past the peak, and we hope that we won't get to a second peak, that we can kind of keep on top of it as much as possible. It's definitely still there, so we're having to make sure that we take lots of precautions all the time, and we're imagining we'll have to do that for the foreseeable future. I expect most of you are thinking about coming to study in 2021, so we can hope that things will be a lot more normal by that point, and maybe we will have a vaccine, and so we can really get back to normal as we'd really like to. So that's where I'm going to stop for now. Just wanted to leave my email address there as well, in case you would like to email me about anything. I'm very happy to talk to you. That's my job. So I'm here to advise anyone who wants to apply from across Latin America. So please do contact me if you have any other questions. But I think there might be a few questions now. So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing my screen and be happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Joe. Yes, we have some questions, so I'm going to read them. The first one is from David Avendaño. He wants to know, do the students have to pay application fees?
That's a good question. Yeah, so for some programs, yes. Generally speaking, they tend to be programs within our business school, and they are programs that tend to be really popular. So that's where we add in application fees, because there's quite a big administrative burden. If every year we're getting more applications, so every year we have to try and get more admission staff approved. So we just do that to try and manage numbers and make sure students are serious about applying.
Natalia Flores asks, for those scholarships, we need to have work experience? The scholarships you mentioned?
No, we wouldn't ask for work experience. The main criteria for our scholarships would be that you would have a very good grade in your bachelor's degree. So I would say a minimum of 4 or a little bit higher would mean that you would be put forward, nominated for a scholarship.
David Avendaño also wants to know if can international students work in the time when they are studying?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you're right, I've missed that in the presentation. Yes, you can work. So when you have your visa, it should be a tier 4 visa that you would apply for, and that would mean that you could work for up to 20 hours a week, and actually outside of term time, so when there aren't any classes in semester time, you could work full-time in theory. Now what I would say is it's probably better to try and work for maybe 10 hours a week, because you don't want to compromise your studies or get into any difficulty in terms of managing the study that you need to do. And usually students do this to get a little bit more money, but it's not going to give you enough to live on. So it's what we might call pocket money. So it will give you a bit more extra, so you can maybe have a little bit more fun, go out, maybe travel a little bit, plan a weekend away in Europe or somewhere else in the UK. So it just gives you a chance to kind of live a little better, but it's not going to give you all of your living costs.
Right. Alejandra Cruz, will a GPA of 3.95 be considered since the entry requirement is quite close to that?
Yes, we would definitely consider that. So we usually aim for something around 4.0, but we would definitely consider that because it's still a good GPA, so yes.
Angela Santana, does the university have any program to do practices for companies in the United Kingdom, like internships?
Yeah, so we do have a few programs with internships. So usually in a master's program, it's a 12-month program. It's quite hard to squeeze an internship into that with everything else you have to achieve to get the master's. But some of our programs do have them embedded. They're usually quite short because of the time that we have. But it is possible to get maybe a 2 or 3 week internship. The other thing you can do is once you've finished your master's, you do have time afterwards where you can stay behind, because we have a new visa coming through which allows you to work after you've completed your studies. So we have that possibility as well. So you could get an internship or maybe even a short-term job after graduating. And also with the visa currently as it stands, you would normally have a few months after handing in your dissertation before the graduation ceremony happens. So you've got this little pocket of time of maybe 2 or 3 months where you might be able to do an internship there. We can help you to find one. We can't guarantee to find you one, but we have a very good careers service, and also the schools will be very helpful in finding that too.
Andrea Lamprea asked if I want to apply to the global program, local program, is the same as to applying to Glasgow University, the University of Glasgow?
Yeah, so for the global program, this is one of the international masters that we mentioned, and this one in particular has been very popular, and particularly in Colombia. Yes, so what we do at the University of Glasgow, we're one of the partner universities that runs these programs, but we do all of the administration for it. So you will be applying to us. It's a slightly different process. When you apply for these programs, you also apply for the Erasmus Mundus Scholarship at the same time. So just make sure you do that too. But we probably do use the same entry requirements. So in that sense, it's very similar to applying to the University of Glasgow in terms of the criteria that we have.
We have a question from Ricardo Angulo, who is asking for a specific subject for a master. So I would like to ask you in general, how do the students find the information about your programs, the specific fields? This person is asking specifically for marketing, branding, or design. So could you advise how to check on your website the programs you are offering?
Yeah, it's quite straightforward. I could even demonstrate it just now if we have a moment to do that. It's really, when you go to the University of Glasgow website, the first page that you land on is the study search page. So I'm just going to share that very quickly now. That one. So yeah, we make it as easy as possible for students to find the program that they want. So here you can see the study search page. So you might put in something like marketing, and then you see which programs we have. You can see the titles just there, so you can then click on the program and just find out more about it. And then the easy part of this is you can see the program structure here. So then you can look in detail at each program and see exactly what you will be taught in each of the courses. And then you can just go straight to apply. So everything is right there from that program page that you would need. So you could go straight to it. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Jo. We have here 2 more questions, but they are very specific. So someone is asking if you can give more details about the new working visa after finishing the studies.
Yeah, so this was announced last autumn, and it's quite exciting. It's similar to something we used to have a few years ago, which is the post-study work visa. We think it is still going ahead, but we've been waylaid with 2 things really in the UK. The first thing was Brexit, of course, which is still going on. And then, of course, the coronavirus has just meant that the announcements on this have really slowed down. But we do think that it should be happening, and it should be happening for students that graduate in 2021 or 2022. So it means that you can apply for this, and you have the chance to stay for 1 or 2 years after graduating. And you can do any kind of work. So we're not going to tell you that you need to get a work visa. You have the flexibility to stay behind and just work and get some work experience in the UK. So that's the purpose behind the visa. The detail about it is not really been provided just yet, but we are still confident that it should be going ahead. Oh, sorry, you're muted, Joanna.
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry. Thank you for letting me know. So I want to ask you, how hard is to find a job after finishing the programs? Because, for example, Natalia Flores is asking specifically for students who do masters in law, but could you give us a general idea of how hard it is to get a job after they complete their programs?
Yeah, so it's I have to kind of manage expectations. It would be challenging for a lot of international students, particularly if it's a competitive job market. And with the way things are at the moment, that's probably going to increase. It's bound to increase. So it can be the case that employers might prefer to have a student who is maybe a home student or based in the EU, so they might be looking for a future employee that might stay. The slight barrier they have is they would have to apply for a visa on your behalf. Having said that, it's not impossible, so I don't want you to kind of give up on the idea that it might happen. I think now we are entering a time where the job market will get tougher, definitely. It's going to get tougher for everyone, but it's definitely not impossible either. All that employer needs to do is they need to really want you, and if they do, they just have to apply on your behalf for a visa. So that's the kind of barrier that they might have, but if they want you, they will do that. So it's definitely not impossible.
Alejandra Cruz is asking something very important, more than interesting, is when will the application process open for 2021 entry?
Yeah, so we're in a kind of different situation this year at the moment where we have staggered our start dates so that some students will start in September at the normal time, some start in November, and some will start in January. Probably for 2021, we will have September and January starts, I imagine, and with majority of programs starting in September. Normally, we will open up the application process in October for 2021 entry, so that should happen in the same way. It might get slightly delayed this year just because we are still processing students coming in for 2020 right the way through to January, but we will aim to be opening by the end of October at the very latest.
Thank you. So the important thing is to follow up the website, the social media. We will send you during the next 3 days the recording of this presentation and your contact details. So if you have any additional questions, I'm sure she will be happy to help you with any specific questions that you have. So I have the last question. Can we apply to scholarships at the same time with the university application, or do they have to apply in different dates?
Actually, we don't have a deadline for the scholarships. So the way we operate that is that you apply for your program and then you get automatically considered for scholarships. So there's no additional process for scholarships. The good thing about that is it's really based a lot on the grade that you have. And then if you contact me, because I am the Latin America contact, once you've made an application to Glasgow, then I can be the person that tries to put you forward for a scholarship. So that's how it usually works. So knowing me is a good thing now. So make sure you keep in touch with me. But that is really quite straightforward. And it means that you can hear about the scholarship at any time through the year. So normally we try to let people know within sort of 6 or 8 weeks of applying for the program whether they've been awarded a scholarship as well.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, for the presentation and for answering all the questions. We cover all the questions that we received on the chat. So just to finish, any recommendation?
Yeah, it's just, well, thank you very much for listening to me, and it's really nice to have so many people attending. I know it's kind of morning time, so it's not always the ideal slot, but it's really nice to have you along. The only thing I would say is let's just hope for 2021 things start to get a bit more normal, and that you can hope to have a really fun experience if you choose to come to Glasgow. It is a fun place to be. People are really lovely and really good humoured as well. So everyone who's come from Latin America tends to have a really, really good time in Glasgow.
Thank you so much. Bueno, y entonces para terminar voy a cambiar a español para invitarlos a nuestras actividades en septiembre. Como ustedes saben, venimos de estar realizando webinars todos los días con universidades, pero en septiembre vamos a cambiar a una nueva actividad en donde vamos a estar hablando con los gobiernos sobre cómo es estudiar en diferentes países en el mundo. Nuestra invitación es a que nos sigan en nuestras redes sociales, que estén atentos a nuestra página web para que puedan recibir esta información y puedan seguir trabajando en su proyecto de estudiar en el 2021 o en el 2022 una maestría o un doctorado fuera de Colombia. Muy buenos días para todos y gracias por su atención.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.